returns, and our destination, the beautiful Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada. Kimi Antonelli continues to lead the championship. Is this, therefore, a must-win for his more experienced teammate, George Russell? Can McLaren remain in the mix for a win? And what of our upgrade packages? So much to talk about here on your weekend warm-up. Hello and welcome down to the pit lane here at the Canadian Grand Prix. This is our 5th round of the season. It's our 3rd sprint weekend too, just to add to the drama. Oh, and the sun may be shining for now, but don't be fooled. This is Montreal after all. There is weather looming on the horizon for race day. Speaking of drama, let's take a look back at what happened in Miami.
Today we bring back the horsepower, the noise, the battles and the rivalry.
And the energy's amazing.
There are so many expectant fans around the circuit. On pole position, 19-year-old Kimi Antonelli. The Miami Grand Prix is underway. Who's got the launch? It's Charles Leclerc. Antonelli goes wide. It's a spin for Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc takes the lead of the Grand Prix.
Oh, that was close. He thinks he can do whatever he wants just because he's racing the midfield.
A brawl to open the Miami Grand Prix. Here comes Norris, and he takes 2nd position. Now the race leader. Norris's turn to head the field.
The McLaren looks so good.
Oh, into the wall. Isaac Hadjar out of the race. Wow, Pierre Gasly flipped over. Big stop for McLaren, the world champion rejuvenated. Antonelli versus Norris, this could be big, it's huge for Kimi Antonelli. Piastri back past George Russell.
Bit of white flag waving this weekend from George.
Here, folks, I am struggling with the throttle.
Panic in Antonelli's voice. Suddenly, Norris smells blood.
Now, Kimi Antonelli having his championship credentials examined. Oh, Charles Leclerc spins.
He's running wide. There's a big issue with the car.
If you want the crown, you have to beat the champion. Kimi Antonelli wins the Miami Grand Prix.
Yes! Woo! Man, what a race!
Russell closing in, he gets by at the final corner. Verstappen takes 5th on the line. Charles Leclerc goes from the podium to 6th place. The teenage dream continues for Kimi Antonelli.
Three wins on the bounce then for Kimi Antonelli. He now leads Russell by 20 points in the driver's standings. To talk through that and everything around the Canadian Grand Prix, I'm joined by former drivers Juan, Pablo, Montoya and Jolyon Palmer, and former strategist turned our broadcaster and friend Ruth Buscombe. Guys, how are we doing?
Very good. Nice to have you back, Laura.
Thank you very much. It's absolutely wonderful to be back in the paddock, in the pit lane, and here in Canada. 3 wins then for Kimi Antonelli. Do you think Miami was his most impressive yet, Jolyon?
Oh, by far. It was an incredible weekend for him. The way that I think you have to judge it in comparison to George, and he made George's life so difficult the whole weekend. All the chatter now is like, can he go on and become this young champion at 19 years old? I mean, it would be incredible. I think he set his stall out well. He absorbed pressure. He was rapid the whole time. He's not good off the line. If he can get that right, then you struggle to see any weaknesses from his Miami weekend.
Our youngest ever championship leader, and to get that win in Miami, Juan Pablo, he had to beat Lando Norris, defending world champion. How much of a statement is that?
I think it was really good. It was a very good statement for Mercedes as well on strategy. They did a really good job because they didn't get off the line that well, as we said earlier. And I think, Mercedes is not afraid of, being aggressive and going for it a little bit like Red Bull does. So I think McLaren really needs to look at it and go, if we don't have the car we had last year and the advantage, we need to be aggressive and make really good calls. I think that's one thing they need to step up.
Yeah, for sure. Look, we've mentioned the starts now twice. It's the only blot really on Kimi Antonelli's copybook in a sense, Ruth. A 2-week break between Miami and now. What are Mercedes doing to try and rectify this situation then?
I mean, it's 20 positions now across 4 races. 4 of those were in Miami, so it's slightly less than his first 3 average. But he's the only driver out of all of our 22 Formula One drivers that's lost positions at every single start. What will they be doing? Well, simulator is your favourite tool. I remember when I had a young driver that kept losing positions at the start, we sent them to go fight it out with a bunch of Dutch iRacers, and he got a little bit better. But yeah, it's only so much you can get in a simulator, again, you really want to be racing out there.
And not all of it's on Kimi as well. both Mercedes are struggling on the start. So Kimi could sit in the simulator and do procedures, but it's different when you've got inertia from the car, you're accelerating, you've got all that G.
And the stress of the real start. You can do 100 simulated starts, that when those lights go off in real life, it is a different story. It doesn't matter how much you prepare, when it's the real lights.
Yeah, and he's always at the front as well, so the pressure's even more for him. And on top of this, it's a hardware thing for Mercedes. So, you know, we talk about the turbos, getting them spooled up, making sure you got the energy and the battery at the right level. It's not just about the driver inputs, it's not just about the pressure. That definitely plays a part. But Mercedes are still trying to troubleshoot why they are not able to launch their car as well as McLaren, who have the same power unit. And of course, we know Ferrari with the smaller turbo, they're just rocketing off every time.
They are rapid off the starts. That's been so thrilling to watch this season so far. Well, George Russell, we've talked about him, 20 points off his younger teammate, very much the favourite coming in to this season. He's the favourite perhaps coming into this weekend, perhaps one who has to win it, a race he won last year as well. Let's hear from him.
Your last year's winner here in Montreal. You've always gone well at this track. How much are you looking forward to getting out on track?
Like Pierre said, I mean, we're end of May, we've done 4 races and it's felt very disjointed so far this year. So just looking forward to getting into just going racing and more races back to back, getting into a bit of a groove. Miami was obviously a very tough weekend for me, but a huge amount learned from that, and I feel great coming into this weekend.
What was the biggest learning from Miami?
Well, I think for a lot of us, we're also focused on the energy management, that all of the issues from the past, dealing with the tyres, dealing with the setup, just fundamentals of racing has kind of been put on the back burner because we're also focused on energy management. So, you know, we missed some key things because we were focused elsewhere, and that was a good little reminder. So, as I said, as painful as it was a very much needed weekend because I think it's going to prove very beneficial for the rest of the year.
Now, everyone's interested to see Mercedes' first big upgrade of this season. What are you expecting from it?
Well, I'm hoping it's going to be, you know, as competitive as what we saw the upgrades of McLaren and Ferrari brought in Miami. They obviously took a decent step forward. Our numbers, our numbers look pretty promising, but we know it doesn't often, it may not correlate that way in reality. So there's no science telling us it won't be competitive, but as I said, until we drive it on track, there's always going to be a few unknowns.
Right.
So this is round 5. We've got 17 races left to go on the calendar at the moment. Is it too early to be saying George Russell needs to assert himself in this teammate battle, and this is a weekend he has to win? If not, why?
Well, does he have to win? Obviously not, and he's aware of that. He's trying to alleviate a little bit of pressure. But at the same time, I do feel like it's a weekend where he kind of needs it for himself. We've had a race in Miami where he's played it down the whole weekend and he said, I'm not great in Miami, this is a good one for Kimi. And we're coming to Canada where he has been brilliant. He's had the last 2 pole positions here. He won the race last year when Mercedes weren't great overall. They were quick here and he won, and he beat Kimi quite well. So I feel like, of course, he can win the title off another tricky weekend. We saw Lando do that from an even worse position last year. But for George, I do feel like this weekend he has to bounce back. And what I'm interested in, Juan Pablo, is him saying he feels disjointed at the start of the year. Because we've obviously had a month off before Miami. We've had another 2 weeks off. Did you ever feel like you want to be in a run of races to pick up the form?
Yeah, the hard thing is he has no momentum. So sometimes when you go to the races, even if it's good or bad, you can work on it and you go to the next race and you work on it and you get some momentum going your way. At the moment is you got to do a race and then you get a month break. And when you have a bad weekend and you got a few weeks, everybody's talking about the same thing. Everybody in his side of the garage is thinking, how can we run better? We need to make sure we go here and run better. But in the other side of the garage, if you're on Kimi's side, you're going, this is a race that I need to beat him. You know what I mean? The mental side is huge because, you know, George said, yes, Miami is a tough race for me. I'm going to go to Montreal and it should be okay. And everybody's counting on him to beat Kimi here.
Can I pick up on the Miami is a tough race for George Russell? Come to the 2 drivers here. I'll come to you in a second on upgrades, Ruth. What do we mean by a driver has a bogey track? What does it mean? What does it feel like in the car for drivers when they just don't get on with the track?
It is so bad. But those are the tracks through the years that you need to learn to be your teammate and you need to improve. I had those. I had a lot of those. My first year in F1, oh my God. I got lapped in Budapest. I got beat by 50 seconds in Imola. And after 2 years, the year after I was there, and after that, I wanted to make sure in those races I could beat him, because if you can beat the guy on his good races, you got him covered all year.
Well, this is it, right? Because surely championships are built upon and based upon, even on your bad days, limiting your losses, making the most of it. If it's not a P1, it's got to be a P2 if you're in the championship fight.
I think it's more important to kind of get the points when things are not going well. Like for Kimi, maybe this is not one of his good tracks. He's only had one race here to find out. But if he can win on this one, it's even more of a message to George. And when you think of George's 4 races so far, Miami was actually, for where his pace was, not horrendous, but for where the car was and the gap to Kimi was quite bad not to be on the podium. But even more, I'm looking at Japan. Not getting on the podium in Japan, not getting second place when Mercedes had Kimi was romping clear there. That's points squandered on his bad days. So I feel like this has to be a good day for him to deliver, and the expectation is there. But again, I agree. If this is then Kimi's chance to kind of beat him on a tougher circuit for him and really sort of twist the knife at the moment into George, and that will make his life really uncomfortable. And the one after this is Monaco, which is never somewhere you want to come to when you need to dig out a performance.
No, for sure. Confidence track, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just so hard. But this is, I think, for George, where they need to look at is, if we cannot beat Kimi, we need to close that gap and build on it. You know what I mean? You need to look at it not half empty, but half full, the glass, because you cannot beat yourself. You're going to come here, Kimi might be really good, and you might struggle. They have a huge upgrade that you're going to talk about, and I think that's going to make a big difference. And I think they're going to, I think either way, I think there's a good chance it's going to be a 1-2 for them.
Well, can I quickly touch then on upgrades, the feeling within the team, because it's a big package expected, isn't it?
Yeah, so nowadays in Formula One, we find out exactly what everyone's got when they do their declaration document tomorrow. So naturally, I tried to talk to everybody. So the Mercedes camp are confident. The numbers are bandying around, quite a large number, like maybe up to half a second. That is, maybe just paddock rumbles. However, Mr. Toto Wolff was very, very confident. When I saw him, he was happy. And I think body language, often more than numbers, says something. And I don't think it was a surprise that they brought it here. They brought a massive package here in 2024, including that gorgeous front wing that meant that was a big step point in their season in that one. I think it was always the plan.
Yeah, great stuff. Well, upgrades are one thing. Getting the better of this track is quite another. Let's take a closer look with Alex Albon.
Could you talk us through a lap of the Gilles Villeneuve circuit?
Chicane, hairpin chicane. So if you're good in chicanes, you tend to go around the track pretty well. So Canada Sector 1, challenging turn 1, turn 2 to get right. Then you go to your first chicane, pretty easy. It's a section of the track that is fairly simple, but tyre preparation and getting Sector 1 good is very difficult. You have to run a soft car to run the chicanes well. Running a soft car normally means you run less downforce, so that trade is big. Sector 2 is more around another chicane and a hairpin, not too much to say. It's all fairly similar, but not. That's the challenge about Canada, is even though they're all chicanes, they're all slightly different and require different things. And then Sector 3, a long straight followed by a single chicane. That final chicane, if you're on a good lap or a bad lap, it's a very technical corner, the last chicane, to get the balance correct and to use just the right amount of curb. On a good lap, to commit to it, you can gain another 10th. If you're on a bad lap, you go for that extra 10th. It's kind of like a little bit of a make or break corner, and you can be highly rewarded or not, and I think that's where you see a lot of these crashes. The World Champions is on your right. Generally, they are the laps where you've gone for the extra 10th. So yeah, there's a there's a lot of time to think about it as well because the straight's so long. So it's a good one.
Oh, thank you, Alex Albon. Always brilliant to hear a driver talking through a track like that and really seeing them literally visualise what it is like in the car. Speaking of getting out on the track, Juan Pablo Montoya, it was a Montoya family affair out there this morning, wasn't it, from a Montoya track walk?
Yeah, we do that actually every race. I mean, I do this parts time, the TV, and the other part time is being with my kid in the Formula 2 races. So we always do the track walk and everything. It's so really exciting.
And look, F2 are racing this weekend, F1 Academy are also racing this weekend. That's a good thing for F1, isn't it? Because all of that rubber laid down, until of course it's washed away on Sunday in the rain, but all of that rubber laid down will give them some kind of reading of the track, won't it?
Yeah, the hard thing is the run before F1 in practice, and then qualifying is after F1, so the track changes completely. It actually surprises how dirty the track was. Like the main track is really clean as normal, but really close to the walls, there's few places where you looked at and like, oh my God, this is gonna be a massive step. And when do you go and use the extra track? When do you risk? Risk against reward is really critical.
Yeah, that's what makes it so fascinating for us to watch as well. From this side, certainly not in the car. Jolyon, we're talking, of course, about the new regulations and the drivers getting to grips with the tweaks as well and understanding how energy deployment works. What's the challenge like on a circuit like this of two halves?
Yeah, I think that's the challenge is it's a circuit of two halves. I mean, you've got the first, most of it, it's really easy to recharge because you've got short bursts, you've got big stamps on the brakes. It's a difficult circuit for the brakes. They are usually on the limit of overheating around a place like this. And that's great for recharging. What's then difficult is the run out of the hairpin up towards that final chicane because you've only got the chicane to recharge something before you get another run to complete the lap in qualifying. You've got quite a low recharge limit as well. It's the lowest we've seen so far, 6 megajoules that you can harvest through a lap. So yeah, you have got plenty of opportunity to do that in the first sort of 2/3 of the lap, but then you've got to make sure you can still top the battery up in the latter part because you're going to need that energy on the longer straights, which are late on. So I'm really interested to see how it's going to unfold because the first half of the lap, you'd think this is absolutely driving as normal, but will you have to have half an eye on the later parts to make sure that you don't run out of juice?
And then Monaco next up is a whole other challenge as well.
It's a free-for-all, Monaco. I'm looking forward to that.
Full deployment everywhere. It's insane.
Ruth, let's talk strategy. And we'll talk about strategy in one sense of what the race normally is, but also it's Montreal. There's no normal here, is there? Especially because we're obviously coming here a little bit earlier in the season than normal as well. Normally here in June, now a few weeks earlier. The air is cooler. There's still rain on the horizon for Sunday. How wet is it looking? What does that mean for the strategy of this race?
I mean, I think you've nailed it. There is no normal Montreal, as you say. Cooler, about a month earlier than we normally are. That's actually going to be a tougher job for the tyres, because here it's the graining that normally defines if it's a one-stop or a two-stop. Last year's race was dominated by the two-stop. George Russell obviously nailed that strategy. It was one-stop till around 2019 here, but that's only in the dry. It's one of the toughest tracks around here on braking, on reliability, and actually more even than grid position. 61% of races have been won from pole. None have been won from P3. It's been all about getting it to the flag because we've got rain and we've got safety cars and we've got critters. And between those three, they have dominated. Critters, I will get into it later. We will get into it later. I don't want to give all my good facts because Jakes, you might be listening. More races have been dominated by animals than by rain conditions in the last 20 years.
Here.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Great stat, Ruth. This is why we pay you the big bucks.
Dominated by animals.
Dominated by beavers.
And if it's not critters, it is making contact with your teammate, which of course we saw last season when Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, both vying for the world title, which Lando Norris ultimately won, did make contact for the first time this season. A kind of weird irony that we're now looking at another intra-team battle between a younger driver and the more experienced teammate. But anyway, let's hear from Lando Norris.
Lando, good to see you here in Montreal.
Plenty of upgrade chat already this weekend. I think there's another round of upgrades for yourselves this weekend, but ultimately, how are you looking ahead? Where do you see yourselves, particularly with Mercedes also bringing their upgrade package too?
Who knows? I don't. So we'll see. I mean, we had a good weekend in Miami, but this is a completely different layout to there, and very difficult to predict. So we don't really care at the minute. I think we're just focused on making sure we prepare well on a sprint race weekend. That's really one of the most important things on a weekend like this, is just making sure we hit the ground running. That's normally what brings someone success on the sprint race weekend, is just starting in a very good place. So that's our goal. We don't really care where everyone thinks they're going to be or anything. We got some upgrades, but a lot of them are more like, some of them are barely change anything. It's just we're talking tiny things here and there at times. But everything to try and push us in the right direction. The more the merrier, and anything that can help us be a little bit quicker, especially when you're talking about thousands and hundreds of times, is a good thing. So the team have done a good job, but we're just prepared on making sure we hit the ground running later. So.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
It was a case of what might have been for Lando Norris in Miami. As you touched on earlier, Juan Pablo, they've got to kind of get on top of that strategy if the car is now putting them in a winning position. Is Lando Norris back on top form, and what can we expect, do you think, from here in Canada and McLaren?
Well, they have upgrades as well. Everybody's talking about that they made a huge step in Miami, and they bring in a lot of stuff here again. And I think that's going to play a card. But they don't have a superior car at the moment. So if they have a car that might have a chance of winning, you need to take risks. You need to try something different. Because if you go with the standard strategy, they had a 2-second lead. And they, when as soon as George stopped, they should have gone, we need to take this because it's a huge difference on the outlap, and they didn't. I think that they thought they had enough gap, and they were too conservative. They didn't react fast enough, and if they want to bring the trophies home, they're going to have to do something.
How often do we stand here and talk about McLaren's strategy? That to Ferraris. Let's talk about their upgrades they're bringing, Jolyon. Leclerc earlier on was talking about optimising the package rather than expecting a sort of magic fix to the car. What does he mean by that? What can we expect from Ferrari here?
Well, they brought a big upgrade package to Miami. There's nothing particular coming here, we don't believe. So it's about, like Charles said, optimising the package. So it was a sprint weekend in Miami. It's difficult to bolt everything on and expect it to work perfectly it was an hour and a half practice in Miami. But even so, you've got so much to unpack with these cars. They're so different to last year's, to try and get them on the track running well and then work out all your aerodynamic surfaces, what's going on. Sometimes you need a bit more time to hone it. So they're thinking that there's going to be more time just actually learning from what they put on the car in Miami. There will be upgrades coming again. I think another big step after Monaco. So hope there, but I think when you're looking at a big package for Mercedes, a significant one for McLaren, understanding it's going to be a key for Ferrari to find some tweaks, but I'm not sure they're thinking that they can necessarily fight for the front here.
It's tough for these teams, isn't it? Because they've had, the 90 minutes we saw in Miami after the tweaks to the regs, but just 60 minutes of practice here with 2 sprint weekends on the bounce. So lots of learning to do. We're talking about these other teams. Who do you think Mercedes are more worried about? McLaren, Ferrari, or even Red Bull?
The two drivers in the team making contact and taking each other out, because the worst thing that can happen to them is a 0. And I think that's what they're in, that championship mindset. It is about getting 2 cars to the finish. If you finish P2 and P3, championship, I think they're only worried about, bringing the points home. That's what I would be. That's what I'd be, Laura.
Well, Toto Wolff is well versed in managing team ambition versus driver ambition, isn't he? All right, it's not just us here on the ground in Canada. It's a bumper crew to bring you all the action. So let's hear from Alex Jakes and Lawrence Barretto.
Thank you very much, Laura. Welcome to the paddock here. First of all, Ruth Buscombe, I heard every single fact, and I'm going to put it in the intro on Sunday, so there's nothing you can do. Second of all, Lawrence Barretto. We're down here at Haas because a lot of people are talking in the driver market, and there was a lot going on with the man who's just walking behind us here, Esteban Ocon. Not happy with some of the rumours that were doing the rounds after the last Grand Prix, and putting those rumours to bed quite vociferously.
He was pretty blunt, to be fair. There was some speculation that there was a bit of a rift with Ai Komatsu, who's the team boss there at Haas, and that potentially he may be out for seat mid-season before the end of his contract, which would expire at the end of the year. He was super frustrated with the rumours that were out there. He said there was no foundation, there was nothing to it. And I think given that, I think that's what shows how important it is for these kind of rumours not to be out there. It can have a real impact, I think, a negative impact on his future, mentally when he's out on track, when he's trying to deliver and prove. So yeah, it's been particularly tough on him this weekend.
Yeah, outrageous rumour that he was going to be dropped mid-season. No truth in that, no hint of truth in that. But does he have work to do to get a deal beyond this year?
Oh, absolutely. So at the end of this year, kind of around the summertime, the team will have to decide whether or not to give him a contract renewal. He's signed a multi-year deal, so that obviously expires at the end of this year. He's been here around 11 years now, so he's been a fair amount of time in the sport with multiple teams. And so he's got a work to do to kind of perform on the level par with Ollie Bearman, who's had a stunning start to the season in his sophomore year. And he's really got to start to show the kind of performance that AO, who engineered his first test way back with Lotus, he's got to show him that that's the kind of driver that he really fought to have at this team and deserves to stay in next year.
So one driver fighting for his future at the end of this season, one driver deciding his future, very much within his gift, Lewis Hamilton, very punchy today about those retirement rumours in the press conference.
Yeah, we saw Lewis really start the season with his mojo back, I think, in those first couple of races, and maybe the last couple haven't quite gone to plan for him. So I think it was maybe a shot across the bow to kind of show that he's still here. Yeah, okay, Charles Leclerc might have had the rub of the green recently, but he's got a contract. It's a 3-year deal, so it's very unusual. So that's till the end of next season. And yet there has been speculation, some people going, oh, well, maybe he'll just chuck it all in at the end of this year. But he wanted to show, you know, people inside the team, people outside publicly, that he's not given up yet, and he's still got a year and a half of this deal to go, and he still believes he can do it, and I think that's key. Lewis still believes he can win races.
And just one point finally on Max Verstappen, he is making more positive noises about a long-term future in Formula One.
Oh, super encouraging, I think, for Formula One and for Red Bull, because he's got a contract up until the end of next year. But yet the speculation on whether he's going to stay. He said today the 2027 engine formula, which they're talking about just tweaking a little bit to improve the racing, appeals to him. And I think with that in mind, he implied that if they go forward with that, he will stick around.
Well, that is your driver market roundup here in the paddock behind the pit building where we're about to go back to. But before we go back there, just want to say from Lawrence and from me, we are delighted, Laura Winter, that you are back in your rightful position holding the microphone, because our lovely producers, they keep trying to make us do things like go up big wheels and film openers on boats. And as we know, that is very much your job.
Welcome. 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 We welcome you. Hold on tight. It's a unique and thrilling challenge. Everything on the line. Fasten your seatbelts. This is the F1 TV pre-race show. Oh no! Oh,
Welcome.
No. I thought the glam bot would just disappear, but it's made its appearance. Thank you very much, gang. I'm so happy to be back. Thank you so, so much. And little baby is out here in Canada as well, and he's loving life in the paddock. So it's wonderful to be here. Thank you very much.
Start them young.
Yeah, I know.
Absorbing the Formula One lifestyle.
He was having a chat with Toto earlier. I think he was looking to sign him up, some sort of driver academy.
Well, he likes to get the drivers in young.
Exactly.
Kimi Antonelli now showing that he's got some talent, maybe from 4 months?
I think so. Yeah, 3.5, 4 months, I'm sure.
Pen to paper.
Yeah, exactly. I might just need a little bit of funding for that. But anyway, if you want to crowdfund my son on his way to a world title, please do. We'll move swiftly on. Which teams then need work this weekend as Ollie Bearman cycles through at the back of shot to say hello? Which teams do we think need a bit of work? We're looking at, the likes of some of the teams we are down here. Aston Martin. Good news for them. Vibrations have gone, Jolyon.
Yeah, so speaking to members of the team earlier on, so they were obviously happy about that. The fix that they had for Miami basically worked. There was a hardware fix that they'd worked on after the Japanese Grand Prix. They had the car back at base there, and that's the first thing that is fixed, and they're happy. The next thing is bringing performance, which they are realistic about expectations. We're not going to see a massively improved Aston Martin for a while, but at least the fact that they've got the understanding of the vibrations, they've got now a chance to improve the power unit, which will be later on in the year. They'll have some tokens to spend, and Honda can improve that. They've got reliability as a foundation, and they could think about improving the car as well, because up until now, they've basically said we're so far adrift. There's no point trying to find some tenths here. We've got to find a big leap, which for them will hopefully come later in the summer.
Yeah, but for me, is one thing is the performance of the engine and issues they had, but wouldn't that you want to still bring aero packages and new things to the car to understand the direction where the car needs to go?
The problem is we're in a cost cap era, so you can't keep bringing new parts all the time. So as soon as you put something into production, that's expensive. Having things in design is okay, so they'll keep waiting for the design until they think they can put things on the car and it actually makes a difference. Because at the moment, sure, they can find a little bit of performance, they can find a few tenths, but they need seconds.
Yeah, so you look at Cadillac. Cadillac, they brought us stuff to Miami and they took a big step. So, you know what I mean? It's not, I think the position they're in, yes, part of it is the engine, but I think aero needs a lot of work too.
And they know that, but they're actually just waiting to try and do the bigger step, use their cost cap allocation. A little bit like Williams, James Vowles was talking about in Miami. They've got things in the pipeline, but rather than keep bursting bits of cost cap or budget on production, they're going to wait and do it all in one sweep and then try and move forward. It's a different philosophy. Cadillac are obviously in a very different position, starting from scratch with a very different base. Different philosophy, that's what Aston Martin are basically doing.
The problem with that is at some point you could start looking at, we're going to wait, then should we wait for next year? And then you never end up evolving and you never end up learning anything. And in paper is one thing, but we know that it doesn't guarantee the stuff is going to work on the track, and they had this issue before.
Yeah, what they've done is effectively write off these races with that, that's for sure.
Outside the Aston Martin garage here as well, I thought this giant crowd was here waiting for us. Apparently not. Fernando Alonso is just doing the egress test from his car, so the evacuation test to make sure he can do that in a certain number of seconds. And that's what these people are watching, not us, guys, unfortunately. We're talking also about the development and upgrade opportunities. So this is the additional development upgrade opportunities, ad duo. Talk us through this, Ruth. What does this mean? Because this is the final race for which teams can gather evidence and data, isn't it?
Yeah, so basically as a way of making sure that no one gets truly left behind in the spirit of competition, after this race, and it's happening at certain points throughout the season, if you are adrift by under a certain percentage, 2% from the leader, that's obviously Mercedes, or 4%, you get a token. And that token means you can do an upgrade onto the car, because the cars are all frozen and homologated as the power units are. So Honda is likely to be getting one, Audi is likely to be getting, I believe, either one or two, and that is going to be key. You know, Honda, they know how to develop it across many different forms of motorsport. They're on pole for the Indy 500, so they've got stuff in their pockets, and as soon as they're allowed to deploy that, reliability is a different thing. This is about performance, so expect manufacturers that do get the token to go up.
The big one would be Ferrari as well. Really great chassis, the aerodynamics working pretty well. The power unit isn't that powerful compared to the Mercedes, and that's going to be the benchmark. And if Ferrari get a token to try and upgrade to find more power out of the combustion engine, that could then be a game changer for them later in the season, because their fundamental car is very good.
Great stuff. Thank you, guys. And this is sprint weekend as well, so not much time to gather this data, just the 60 minutes of practice. Let's take a look then at the schedule for round 5 and our third sprint weekend, our second on the bounce. Here we go. 1 hour of running. 12:10 will be building up to FP1. Sprint qualifying comes in Friday afternoon here in Montreal. 4:10 for that one. And then your pre-sprint show on Saturday, 11:15 for the sprint race at 12. A post-sprint show straight afterwards. Pre-quali at 15:25. Qualifying, the post-qualifying show. And Sunday, the big one, the Canadian Grand Prix. Building up with a bumper show at 2:50 ahead of that one. And we're expecting it to be wet, I think. So therefore, could I have your predictions, please?
Well, my prediction is a dry race, actually, and I'm going to go...
Really? Have you looked? What forecast are you looking at?
I'm a meteorologist. I know all these things. It'll be so soaking on Sunday now, mark my words. But I'm going to go the boring one. I'm going to say George Russell hits back. Kimi Antonelli with the upgraded Mercedes is second. And I think Lando's been pretty quick here in recent years, so I'm going to put Lando Norris third.
I'm kind of the same. I think we're going to see different results in the sprint race and the main race. I think in the sprint race, I do believe George is going to beat him, and I think Kimi might win the main race. I don't know why. I have that feeling.
Because the starts?
No, not the starts. I think it'd be more of a strategy thing.
Well, I was going to say the exact same, to be honest, but I'm going to predict
agreeing with each other. Things so much has changed since I've been gone.
Because one fun fact about here, another one that Alex will steal for the opener, is that the forecast on Thursday over the last 20-year period has been wrong more often than it's been right. It's currently a 39% chance of rain, so that means that it will be a 51, 53, and then it will be rain.
It's going to be,
Ruth.
yeah, I think it's going to, if anything, you might get a small drizzle, but it's just the forecast, if you looked at it a week ago, it looked like it was going to be pouring Saturday, Sunday. Now it just keeps getting better.
And rain.
This is
still
good
bringing
news
the outrageous stats. Forecast change from Thursday to Sunday.
It's very important. Do not assume the forecast on Thursday around here, Julie.
It is a niche stat. but we love it. Thank you very much, guys.
What are you saying? You can't get away without a
Yeah,
prediction.
God, I thought I could. Do you know what? First race back for me, I'm going to say it's a George Russell win. I agree with you. I think he's got to hit back, hasn't he? Like you said, against Kimi Antonelli. I'm also tempted to agree with you, Jolyon.
What is happening?
You think I think the Red Bull might be quite good here with their power unit, and we counted them out. We haven't talked about them, and I think they might be quite
upgrades
good.
too for the Red Bull.
I think we're showing it's all to play for.
Yeah.
Let's wait and see, shall we? FP1 tomorrow. This is Sprint Weekend. You don't want to miss a second of it here on F1 TV. We'll see you tomorrow.
All you gotta do is just... It is one of Formula One's favourite stops on the calendar. This is Formula One in Montreal.
I'm holding my breath on this one.
And the Canadian Grand Prix is go! Oh, he's giving it everything. Flat to the floor, cars everywhere. Into the wall and out of the race. Oh, the McLarens collide.
Keep it from me.
Extraordinary.
Guys, that was a hell of a race.
Just came on a track so dangerous.
Did it feel like a race for us?
Yes, what a race, guys.
George Russell wins the Canadian Grand Prix. This has the potential to be very special.